Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
A mother was at home with her children in Detroit, Michigan, when three men, one of whom was armed with a handgun, broke into the house. The mother responded by retrieving a semi-automatic rifle and warning the intruders that she was armed. When the criminals persisted despite the warning, the mother fired at the home invaders. At first, all three invaders retreated outside the home, but the one armed with a pistol decided to try to enter the home again. The criminals' re-entry prompted another round of gunfire from the mother, at which point the armed home invader fled for good. Police captured the trio a short time later. This brought to you by Detroit, Michigan, March 18th, 2014.
That's right. You are on the firing line with Matt, Joe, and Kanani today. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the Santa Maria area, call us at 928-1440. Oh, so that's a pretty good Second Amendment encounter. You know, immediately, since it's like, since it's not a super negative thing,
right?
They don't say AR-15. They say it's a semi-automatic rifle.
Trying to be politically correct.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas as if this was some school shooting, they would call it an AR-15 for sure.
Right.
No, they just would have called it an assault rifle.
Okay, yeah. I
skipped over
corrected.
like the legit part. It was just
fully automatic assault rifle.
Yes, the brainwashing would have continued, but instead...
they called it a semi-automatic rifle, and like we've talked about, it's a great defensive thing, especially, for women. If you can't handle a bigger recoil or something like a 12-gauge, an AR is perfect for that.
Absolutely. Another thing, too, is we're always led to believe by the way of Democrats or the left side's brainwashing that if a female had a gun at home, it would be taken away from her and used against her.
Yep.
So that's just wrong. She shouldn't have a gun. That's just giving to the situation and making it worse. I mean, good God.
Right. I mean,
we're so weak.
Well, yeah, we've heard it so many
fragile.
times. Like, well, if I have a gun, then I'm going to introduce a gun to the thing where there wouldn't be one before. Well, it's like,
but there's already a gun. The bad guy already had a gun.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Well, if there's already a gun, all you're doing is introducing an equalizer instead of just, okay, I'm going to be a victim because I don't even want to fight for anything.
That's just it. You're right. Do you want to be a victim? And what society do we want to be a part of? One that says, yes, victims are okay, it's better to be a victim, or one that says, hey, I'm going to stand up for protecting myself. Yeah. It is my responsibility. I have the right and the ability to. I can own a firearm. I can train with it, whether I'm a guy or a girl. Well, I'm not a girl, but hey.
But if you were, you could still train.
Right. So, I mean, that's the thing. Is today's society, I don't know. I see too many women out there that don't want to stand up and fight for themselves, and then we see people like girls like Kanani who's like, give me a gun. Oh, that's fun. I don't get it.
I wonder if sometimes women in general want to have that little bit of given permission. Like, it's okay to get up and fight for yourself. You don't need a guy to do that for you.
You know what? And they shouldn't. They should be, I don't know. I guess it also probably depends on where you grow up too, because if you're out in the country, a lot of women are like, oh, I can go out and hunt right next to my husband, or in the city, maybe because of all the left-wing stuff that goes on in a closed-knit community, that's the kind of stuff that they might think, hey, I've got to get permission to do this. I've got to do it this way. I don't know. But yet then they turn around and it's oh, gosh, it's just so much to think about. But besides the point, before I bury myself and get in trouble out there, I'd say something really stupid.
So what do we got for questions and answers today, Joe?
You know what? Last week we had the question of what is a mil dot? Let's see here. What is a mil dot? What does mil stand for? And what part of the military used it before it was used in rifle scopes? And nobody got the answer. I think we have one person that called and tried to put it on there.
No, I think the person who called was Bob, or from Bob's Radio, talking about if nobody got the answer last week, that this week it would be bumped up.
Oh, you're right, to 175.
So I think we're at 200 this week.
No,
175. I keep getting it off anyway. 175 from Bob's Radio and TV, a gift certificate for a restored restored car, a vintage car stereo. So.
Yep.
So what were the answers from last week? What's mil dots? What's all this mil stand for?
All right, a mil dot is a range-finding dot in a reticle. A mil stands for milradians.
Milradian.
Milradians, that's exactly what it stands for. Now, that's used for determining the distance of something. You can use it also in determining drop because of the distance, depending on weight of whatever you're firing in your weapon. And usually it's the distance between the center of one dot to the next dot. And that's what determines the distance by what you would equate it to on the different things. But milradian is usually, what, a thousandth of an inch, I believe it is. And for those of you who didn't know where it was used before it was actually brought into rifle scopes, it was used in periscopes from submarines. That way they could tell the distance from one ship to, from your submarine to the ship. Set off your timers on your torpedoes and away you let them go.
Nice.
So now they've come a long ways, and what we use nowadays on our rifles, we use the mil dots to determine, again, distance. And also we can use them to readjust, center of fire there. For how far you're shooting, how much the bullet and the weight of the bullet's going to cause it to drop.
Yeah, and there's so much science that goes into that stuff too that is way beyond anything I can comprehend. But when those guys take into the curvature of the earth and all that cool stuff, it really.
The wind, the temperature outside.
Everything.
There's a lot to it. Of course, there are computers out there that some people can buy and do that, but you'll talk to a lot of the old time snipers, and they're like, that's cheating.
They had to do it themselves.
Right.
Yes. On the fly.
And take shots at a mile and a half, first shot, first kill. One shot, one kill.
No questions.
No questions asked, absolutely. But today we have a new set of questions. And I kind of like these questions. I'm hoping that somebody will be able to call and give us the answer to them right off the bat without going on Google. But I'm sure that somebody out there is probably going to be on the computer really quickly.
It's technology. We can't fight it.
All right. There are a lot of people that lived through this time and may know the answer right off the bat anyways. So the questions are threefold again. What plane or planes dropped the atomic bombs in Japan to end World War II? And we're not looking at what kind of plane. We're actually looking at the name of the two planes. The second question of this three-part would be, what were the name of the two bombs that ended the war? And of course, the third question would be, what dates were the two bombs dropped that ended the war? So I think those are some good questions.
Yeah,
again,
definitely.
What are the name of the plane or planes that dropped the atomic bombs in Japan to end World War II? What were the name of the two bombs that ended the war? And what dates were the two bombs dropped that ended the war?
And give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the 805 area, 928-1440. Let us know those your answers to these questions, and we'll get you this gift certificate. It's pretty cool.
All right, so we'll probably take a quick break, kind of jump into the show today. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of the rhetoric that goes around the United States, some of the brainwashing, which is what we kind of led into with the first story. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Fort Hood shooting. I think that we need to and pay a little respect to what happened there. And so if you stay tuned with us here, we'll be right back on the firing line to jump right into that great stuff.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352. Serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Presker Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
We're happy to have a special guest here today at the Plumbing Talk Studios, Jeremy Griffin, owner of Griffin Plumbing in Orcutt. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Jeremy, the reason your plumbing company is called Griffin Plumbing is that your last name is, in fact, Griffin.
Yeah, that's right.
Unbelievable! Griffin, just like the legendary creature with the body of a lion and the wings of an eagle.
Yeah.
What a brilliant move, Jeremy.
I'm a genius.
To name your plumbing company after this majestic creature. A creature known not only to have divine power, but also to be a protector from all things evil.
Well, it is my last name.
Audience, listen carefully. If your plumbing devices are threatened in any way, I implore you to seek the power and protection of the Griffin.
We're always here to help. Just give us a call.
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today.
Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440. Or if you're in the Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440.
And of course, don't forget to check us out on Facebook on the Firing Line with Matt and Joe.
That's right, you are back on the firing line. So what do we got lined up next here?
You know, I think first we should probably take a second and talk a little bit about the Fort Hood shooting.
Fort Hood, yes.
Second time something's gone on there here in a while.
Yep.
It's a very sad day and a sad thing for something like that to happen. You know, our vets and the people that sacrifice their lives should not have to worry about when they get home defending themselves from their own brothers and sisters or from the people that they've so honorably set out to protect and the way of living that we protect. It's a very sad thing that this happened, and I just hope that everybody out there, you know, if you've got family members or friends that have been in the military and they've come back, you know, no matter what job they've done, whether it's working on trucks, whether it's transporting things, fixing airplanes and stuff like that, you know, they go through thoughts and they're going through a time where they're away from their family and loved ones. And it's up to us to be there for those people, to console them, to let them express, and even if they just want to be quiet, you know, and not talk about it, just be there for them. And that's something that's so important.
Yep.
And I believe that if somebody had been there for this person a little bit more, that maybe he would have found a better way to handle this situation that he had before him. Of course, nobody will ever know because nobody was there. And there's so much talk going out there, you know, about how it could have been stopped, how it shouldn't have happened, and everything else.
And that's, you know, I mean,
it's a hard one.
And it's tough, and you're right. I mean, it shouldn't have happened, obviously. You know, it's always a tragedy. But the thing that gets me is the stuff, when people start nitpicking it and calling it and saying that it's a conspiracy and that, there's the shit.
Oh, God,
like,
I
that's
can't
the
stand
stuff,
the tinfoil hat stuff and that stuff.
There's no shortage of it with this type of thing. You know,
Right.
and that's a bummer because you just kind of, like, well, show some respect, take it for what it is, and don't get caught up in what the media, you know, because it is the media.
It is. You know, it's interesting, though, is we haven't seen the anti-gunners coming out in droves like we did the last time.
Yeah, the last Fort Hood, there was a lot of them.
And even after the school shooting, you know, stuff like that.
Of course.
And you got to wonder why. Not to take something so bad and to turn it into what the pro-gunners' way of going after these guys. But, I mean, we have to take notice here. Politicians from the left are not using this. And I think it's because of the backlash that they've been getting from going after guns, you know, the recalls and so forth. And also Take a look at the simple fact that there's going to be an election coming up.
Yep,
They've already
exactly.
got so many guys that have put out anti-gun laws that have been arrested for gun things. Yee and a number of other people. The guy in New York that put out the Safe Gun Act, who was
I think
arrested
there's 3
for
of them,
going into
4
a
of them.
school ground.
4
Yeah,
guys.
with a loaded firearm. That's got to be a slap in the face to their party, and it's a slap in the face to us to see that kind of stuff. The very people that are putting themselves above the law instead of just being regular people helping lead us instead, going out and doing these things is just a travesty. And I think that has a lot to do with why they're not being so vocal now. And with the elections coming up, if they do become vocal on these kind of things, it's sure to put them in a losing seat or many seats.
Yeah, and that's totally good points. Maybe they're losing steam. I kind of hope they are. I highly doubt that they are gaining common sense. I don't think it's something that drastic. But I don't know. There's a lot going on with it. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely see. Last week we were talking about Senator Leland Yee.
What a wuss.
And Jim brought something up today that I hadn't even seen yet. It was in the Santa Barbara News Press.
Yeah, but Joe, you brought it up last week.
I heard
we
he
were
was a
talking
terrorist.
about. Huh?
We were talking why wasn't he arrested for a terrorist act?
For terrorist act and for treason.
And treason, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that covers terrorist act is a treasonous thing.
Okay, there we go.
By default
it's
and
combined,
virtue.
right?
Right.
Yeah. But
And-
we were asking that question. I mean, hey, he was dealing, and Joe, the article that comes out of probably the leftist paper in the neighborhood.
The Santa Barbara News Press.
Right.
This was
that
actually
one.
out of Saturday, April 5th, which is today.
But look at the byline. Look where the byline came. Contra Costa.
Right.
You're talking about
God.
left was born there.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's where it's born.
It really is.
Yeah, that's where it breeds its children.
Well,
and
even
they still
they can't say that he's a good person. I mean,
But the truth is the truth, Joe. I mean to take up your time, but you said me and you were talking about it. And the truth is that we're wondering why didn't this guy get arrested for
And he was
terrorist act?
that close from what you were telling me, and from what I can see in here.
There's a piece of it just there in the first column.
It says, shocking enough are the allegations that a long-perceived unassuming state senator tried to broker an international arms deal with military-style rifles and rocket launchers. But Leland Yee may have narrowly escaped an even more ominous label, terrorist sympathizer. Wow. Mr. Yee, whose arrest after an FBI undercover sting shook the California political world last week, would likely have been charged with aiding terrorists if not for a bureaucratic label missing from the militant Filipino group that he allegedly sourced for an international arms deal.
Well, let's say that again, Joe, because without the label or without the recognition, according to the law, in other words, like if you walked into a grocery store but you didn't know the name of the grocery store, that's what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
That's as simple as we can put it, right?
That's how narrow.
That's how narrow
yeah.
it was.
Had the investigation gone a little bit further, I think, like you said, that
If they would have made a
could've-
purchase in that grocery store, boom. Doesn't
Right.
matter what the name is, you're in.
Right.
And that's how close it really was, that he came to a terrorist act against the United States of America. A man who we said, now I'm pretty sure it was 16 laws that we covered last December with him and another state senator, De Leon,
Right.
excuse me, and
well, a whole bunch of them. And this is the people that are making laws to lead us, and then turning around behind our back, doing these insane things. I just
and that's exactly it, though. I mean
the
that's
guy gets
pure
caught in-
rubbish.
Look at what we're talking. But Joe, look at what you're talking about today. The thing of it is that you were talking about one thing, that a horrible shooting of a young man who went and risked his life, and nobody took care of him after that, which is our responsibility
Exactly.
as
Yeah,
humans.
not to hang him out to dry. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And nobody, well, it's kind of hard because if you ever had suicide around you or suicide tendencies around you and you're having your load on you or whatever's going on in your life, sometimes you just don't recognize it as quickly. I think, but there should be people around who are wearing those kind of glasses.
Yeah,
and
they're
who can
looking
pick
for
it
it.
up. Exactly, Connie. They should pick it up. They should know the signs. They should know.
Well, yes.
And so what we're saying is that look at the difference here, though. There's a young man who's screaming for help.
I need a day off. I need to go be with my family. My mother's passed away or is passing away.
Yep.
You know, and these are the kind of people we should be taking care of.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then you get the other side that we were talking about, the Senator Yee.
The Yees.
And the congressman from New York.
New York, yep.
These people have nothing but contempt for people who have guns.
Well, and you know what? There are precursors for both situations. Okay, with the young man, like you said, you know, he wanted to see his parents, or his mom, or go back to home to work, you know, to deal with that kind of stuff. And I'm sure there was things that led up to that. Those are the kind of things that we would say, hey, that's a human being. We need to give him the respect and let him do what he has to do. And then with Senator Leland Yee, we had precursors to this. The guy was a criminal already. We know that he's been in trouble in Hawaii for shoplifting and then failed to go to court for it. You know, there are other things that happened as well.
Yeah, let's face it, the FBI knew it because they targeted him.
Right.
They knew something about him.
He should have been pulled out of the light right off the bat. Of course, how do you do that without violating his rights? That's the problem.
But they did. They got him. They nailed him for what he really is. And they showed us what he really is. And I think it's what I was saying earlier. It's an interesting dichotomy between these two things, or three things that we're really talking about. Even the thing today in Detroit with the woman with the AR, right? You just kind of say to yourself, wow, you know, if we'd only have more of a understanding and more of a, I don't know how to say this the correct way, but if we only understood people better, we only cared about people better, then we wouldn't have all these situations.
You're right.
Ground up approach.
Except for one thing.
What's good for me kind of thing, it seems like almost.
We've been brainwashed to the point where we don't look for these things because we believe that we're supposed to do this or we're supposed to act this way.
That's true,
and
That's very true.
It's such an unfortunate thing. I mean...
even this was on a military base. How come more of our military aren't armed on base? I mean, I know that's a whole other issue, but to me, it only seems logical.
That's a fair question too. The military should be able to handle their internal situations. We would assume.
You would think so.
Right, but
they are the military.
Does every military man have a weapon when he's at home in America on base?
No, but he should.
And would you expect that truck drivers would have, you know, truck drivers or mechanics would have their guns on them at all times?
But should it be a gun-free zone? I don't think so.
No, it should not be a gun-free zone.
No, that's
just ridiculous.
And they probably do have their own response team.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that always got me too is a military base is like a foreign land in a sense because it's federal property.
Right. Yeah.
And you have local police responding to the situation.
That's a great point. Right. Yeah, and still, when there's local police, even if they're very quick, it's still an outside-in response. It's not the right type of response for, especially a shooting. You know, it needs to happen now, not in 10 minutes when the local police get here.
Your MPs who are young, 18-year-old, 19-year-old guys and older and whatnot, they should be practicing continuously, which I'm sure these guys did, to handle the situation on their own. Right. They should be self-sufficient. That's what I would expect. Of course, I'm not there. I don't know what they go through, and I don't understand necessarily the process that they take. But as a civilian, that's kind of what we all expect, right?
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with you. We would expect that. But I lived on a military base. You know, I was in the Navy, and I didn't spend a lot of time there. But when the ship was in, I did. But it is a little community all of its own. You know, people have their own houses there. The whole thing. You know, post offices, the whole thing.
Yeah. So
when you were in the military. And you were on base, did people have weapons?
Yeah, sure.
Now
all the time.
Who took the weapons away from them?
I don't know.
What politicians do we think did that?
Yeah, no kidding. And that's what it was some act that some guy signed because it was a brilliant idea.
Oh, no. You see Army guys, they're always carrying weapons. And when I was in there anyway, Marines always carried weapons. Marines always had a weapon.
We went on base at the Air Force, and there's guys...
I was just about to ask you that. Our own Vandenberg, I think, just has private security who is not armed at their front gate. And when I was a kid and went with my dad, there was armed military personnel at the front gate. And you had to show identification and car registration, and you had to have clearance to come in. So
there are now. I think the private security is out of there, and now they have gone back to their security police on base, and they're armed. They were guys getting on the school bus that had guns strapped to their leg.
Well, when you're overseas too, I mean, in Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines, which I had been at, and Subic Bay, which I had been at, both of them, everybody's armed. Everybody's armed. There's, because it's a foreign land too.
Right.
But they're all armed. I mean, regular guys walking down the street can be armed. It's Vietnam during the Vietnam era too, though.
Well, think of this, though, too, is like Vandenberg base, for instance, okay? It's a large base. And if all of our armed guys are operating the entry points and the exit points, and you get deep inside the base, you're supposedly already past all that stuff.
Right.
You get somebody who starts shooting, how long is it going to take for the guys to respond to that? It's going to take a while, and some people are going to get shot. It's no different than
I guess
in our own homes where, hey, it takes 5 minutes for the police to respond, and by then, there's a lot of mayhem going on.
Yeah.
Mayhem, I like that word.
We need to do something. We need to get a little lighter. Why don't we ask people if they know what the question is today to win $175 worth the restoration of your radio.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember, that radio can be made from 1930 to 1970. He can take your radio, restore it back to original state condition, or he can make it even better by adding Bluetooth to it, doing a number of things like that, and still having it look like an original radio, which is pretty awesome. Yeah, when Dan called and offered this up for everybody, we thought, you know what, that's pretty awesome. That shows some great support for the show.
If it's the 70s, we'll have those little blinking lights around it, red, white, and blue, and all that kind of stuff.
So, what plane or planes dropped the atomic bombs in Japan to end World War II?
What was the name on the planes?
What were the names of the planes? Yes.
Okay. Not that they were B-57s or
whatever they were.
They were actually B-17s, but...
What were the names of the two bombs that ended the war?
Everybody should know that.
What dates were the two bombs dropped that ended the war?
That may be a little difficult for some people, but I knew what they were. Well, I knew what one date was.
Collectively, we knew the answer.
Collectively,
yeah.
Well, I came up with the answers by Googling them. No, I'm just kidding.
No hints. You cannot find these answers on Google.
Just give us a call.
Yeah, good luck finding them in one thing.
We removed them from the interweb.
And again, the number's 928-1440 or 888-625-1440.
Ooh, that's the truth right there.
There it is.
All right, so
it took a little lighter there.
Yeah, kind of lightened it up a little bit.
Give me a lighter, bro.
Should I go ahead and read this article that I found on Fort Hood and kind of goes into some of the stuff that's happening?
Let's talk smack about Leland Yee. No, I'm just kidding.
We can always do that later.
We could do that. Now
I was still laughing about the puns last week. Though. They were funny.
I know. I keep hearing them too.
Yee-mini Christmas.
I will talk about this real quick. And we've this has been a big subject to us, the whole yee, and to me it seems like it seems like of course we know what's going on. I go down to Santa Barbara and people don't even know.
Oh yeah.
They don't know a name that I'm talking about. They look at me like I'm the craziest person ever for knowing what's going on. Who's ye? Yeah.
Who's ye?
Who are all these people? What does that matter? I'm just going, what are you guys?
That's a good point.
And I'm talking about my friends, and they're clueless.
Well, I like it that was in the Santa Barbara. If you read the Santa Barbara Times today, it's not whatever Santa Barbara newspaper. It's in there. It's in there. It's kind of buried a little bit, but it's there.
Well, now that it's in the Santa Barbara News Press, maybe some people from Santa Barbara will
page 8
will know what it is.
It's page
7.
Page 7. Excuse me. Page 7. So got a picture of Lee.
It's just one of those things that another
Yee.
thing that always takes me by surprise when people. This stuff is what's going on with us right now.
It's incredible.
But the thing is most medias won't cover this stuff because it goes against what they want to believe and what they want to push on their agenda, the left agenda.
Their left agenda.
The left runs the medias. I don't care if they're owned by the right or what, but the left dictates to them what they're going to put out there. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we're stuck having to go with it.
7.1 million people signed up for insurance.
No, it's not.
Gosh, where'd that phony number come from? That day, too.
Yeah.
Week before it was 3 million, but that day,
it doubled overnight.
Ding. Not 6.985.
Well, of course
not 7. It was 7.1. Not a good number. That's a great number.
Yeah, it's warm and fuzzy. It's 7.1 is a number we can all live with.
Yes.
Let's round that up. I mean, after all.
But I mean, that got a lot of play. Did you see how much play that got this week? You couldn't turn the news on without that being on there. But one of our state senators in California, I sent a Facebook thing out to somebody in Texas. They were talking about, their thing in Texas. They had a left person, and they had a felony, and now they want to vote again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
They used to be a congressman, now they want to vote again. Right?
Okay.
And I said, that's nothing, man. Here's what's happening in California.
Step up to the big leagues.
Yeah. I mean, our middle name is corruption.
We're selling guns to terrorists over here.
Some little peon felony.
Half the Democrats that run California are up for not re-election.
Are in prison.
But indictments.
No kidding.
That was, so I agree with you, man. I talked to my son. He knew the things about the ice.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah, that's really hot here in Santa Maria.
Oh, yeah, he knew about that. I said, you hear about Mr. Yee? Who?
Well,
I said the gun runner.
Yeah.
What gun runner?
You know, Leland.
Are you kidding me? He knew about the ICE thing. He said, "Oh yeah, I heard about the ICE thing you guys are having there."
Well,
you know, because they're supposed to build a thing for prisoners,
Right. Well,
right? So they can ship them back to whatever country they come from. That's more important than one of your state senators
that
gun
was
running.
awesome.
no, I don't know. They're both pretty important.
Well, ICE is important. I agree. What they want to do and everything. That's an important subject. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, more than gun
The
running.
thing is, though, is that's local, and local things tend to go by word of mouth around pretty quickly.
No, this was in Florida. I was talking to somebody in Florida and Texas.
Oh,
they
no
knew
kid-
about it.
Oh, wow.
About Santa Maria's ice
But
problem.
Santa Maria's ICE problem, yeah. Well, in case you don't know, ICE is the deportation of criminals and how they do that and how they take care of that after they've completed their jail sentences. They're not the guys who go out into the fields and start grabbing people. They have nothing to do with that. It's a place where they actually extradite people that are in foreign countries too. So if you've committed a crime or there's extradition on you, they take care of it. Well, they want to plant one here in Santa Maria, over there on Better Raven Road. It has nothing to do with the
It has nothing to do with what they think it has something
well,
to
it's
do
it,
with.
So
right.
it has nothing to do with illegal aliens.
No, well, yeah, but it does. But you have to have committed a crime and
Right.
fulfilled your time, or you were
It has
being
more to do
extradited.
with criminals.
We're
Yeah,
talking
it's
about
all-
ICE,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, ICE, right, exactly.
ICE does go after those guys.
Yeah.
No, he's talking
no.
specifically about the one they're setting up, the new one, right?
ICE goes after criminals, not people who are here illegally. They're just part of that.
Okay.
ICE is part of that.
So
But they don't
they're
go
the ones that
after
go
them.
after the criminal element.
Right. They're
And
the
will
ones who-
arrest them and put them in these jails.
Well, they've already committed a crime.
Okay.
That's what they do. They're like the police. If you've done something wrong and you haven't, or you've completed your time, you've already completed your time
You know
in
what
jail, and
gets
they're going
me
to send you
on
away.
all that, though, is if I'm sorry, I'm going to break it, but still stay on a little bit of the same track.
Just a
Our city, council,
Yeah.
they talked about this stuff. And
That's
what
for
kind
sure.
of what group of people should be allowed to come up and talk about that in front of them?
I'd say the Hispanic people because it's going to involve some of the Hispanics, yeah.
Wouldn't it be legal Americans that
Of
belong
course.
part of here?
Of course, yeah.
Instead of illegal people who should not have a say in our system?
They don't.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, you get enough certain group to show up and complain about a certain thing to complain about, things tend to get listened to.
When they shouldn't have a say
Being
in the
as vague
world
as
about
possible.
anything
Nice
that
way to
happens.
put it.
Huh?
Yep.
Well, Kanani's over here. She's got a grin on her face. She's got something to say.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm just agreeing.
Of course, that's what we do here.
Okay, on that note,
We
let's take a
agree.
break.
All
We'll
right.
be back.
Fine.
Yeah, break it away.
Don't
Be right
forget-
back
don't
with
forget
you.
to call us about our what?
Yeah, $175 from Bob's TV and Stereo for your new car restoration. 1-888-625-1440 or 928-1440.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the information station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We will be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building an AR-15, they have lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies and stuff.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol Classes and have trained thousands of local ladies.
The store is located off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit. Look for the big rifle sign on the freeway as well as the giant 5-ton Tactical military truck, and they're now open on Mondays. America!
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
On the air with the Midnight Mystic is one of our regular callers, truck driver Charlie.
Boy, I just seen another one, Midnight Mystic.
Another Griffin, Charlie?
I'm telling you, they're all over the Central Coast now.
How long have you been on the road now, Charlie?
2, 5, 8 weeks, I don't know.
Perhaps you should park the truck and get some sleep, and maybe the Griffins will disappear.
Well, there it is again. I'm going after it.
What does it look like, Charlie?
Holy mackerel. It's got the body of a lion and the head of an eagle.
Is it flying, Charlie?
It's on the side of a white truck.
Is it a Griffin plumbing truck, Charlie?
Could be. I don't know. I'm pulling right up to it.
We seem to have lost contact with Charlie, but I'm sure he'll be okay because Griffins, just like the good folks at Griffin Plumbing, are here to protect and serve. In fact, if your plumbing devices are threatened in any way,
Call the Griffin.
Find us at callgriffinplumbing.com or call 934-1949.
You are on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440. Or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, you are back on the firing line. Give us a jingle, 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, 928-1440. So we do have these questions that still stand today. What plane or planes dropped the atomic bombs in Japan to end World War II? What were the names of the two bombs that ended the war? And what dates were the two bombs dropped that ended the war?
Should we give them a hint about one of those?
No, no hints. They have Google.
I mean, like, one of them's kind of difficult.
What?
One question is, can we give them a hint?
But
we haven't heard anyone try yet.
Yeah.
That's true. We haven't even anybody try it.
Somebody must call and try. I think that's important. How many people out there really know their American history?
America 101.
This is some good stuff.
Yeah,
and really, this one's not that hard of one. Not like the Mill Dots or,
No, the Mill
or
Dot
the
was
exact
hard.
dates of the.
But I thought we would throw them a bone.
1911.
Yeah. Oh, no bones.
No bones?
No.
We love our people, but
we
no
love our
bones.
people, but we love them so much that we're going to give them this
At
awesome gift certificate.
455, we'll throw them a bone.
175.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
We got that. You guys got 12 minutes to figure
So
it
what
out.
we could do is say like, I don't know. Like we could kind of give them a hint about one of the things, huh?
Maybe.
At
Maybe.
at 4:55, he said.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, okay.
If they're lucky.
You want to keep this thing till it gets to $300, huh?
Maybe.
All right. You might be a left-wing extremist, brainwashing victim if
Nice.
you believe that the U.S. Constitution prohibits the open recognition of God by our federal or any state government and the exhibition of religious symbols on public grounds.
You might be a left-wing extremist brainwashed victim if you believe that Al Gore won the 2000 presidential election. Oops.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
I know a lot of people that believe that.
Or you believe that most television and print news outlets in this country are politically neutral.
Wow, we were just
Aren't they?
talking about that.
That one's cute.
Yeah, aren't
That
they?
one-
Aren't they?
That one's actually
They tell me it is, so it must be true.
Yeah, you can pick
Yeah.
your teeth with that one, huh?
But they said it is.
Many times over.
But they said so.
You might be a left-wing extremist brainwashing victim if you believe that the
You're supposed to read that,
outlawing private gun ownership will reduce crime.
Yeah.
How many people believe that, do you think, in the United States?
Lots.
A large
72%.
Yes.
72%.
Yes.
I just made that up. It's not true,
well,
but it sounds good, right?
No, it's true.
Brainwashing from our side, absolutely.
Hey, hey, we generate the numbers here,
I
okay?
think-
It's 72.
Well,
Round
if-
up,
If
okay?
the president can say 7.1, we can easily say 72.
If he can say
Easily.
7.1, we can say 7.2.
That's right.
Boom.
That's right.
72%.
7.2 million people in this country believe that less guns equal less violence.
Maybe.
I would say 72 million. Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's close.
Was there 370 million people in America?
Hey.
Not
Okay.
including the people who aren't supposed to be here?
BetterOdds.com.
Oh my God, I love this one. You might be a left-wing extremist, brainwashing victim if you believe that the U.S. Constitution is a living, breathing document and the Supreme Court justices have the right to redefine its text in order to make it compatible with what they interpret to be the current moral standards of society.
Yikes, wow.
How do you like them apples?
I don't. They're sour. Sour apples. Dude.
What's law of the land? We'll just tweak it here a little bit. And in Texas, we can train people that the Second Amendment means only a what do they call it? Oh my
Only
gosh.
people without a felony and that can't conceal a weapon can carry one.
Right.
That are not that, or if you're part
and
of a militia.
you have to be part of a private militia. You know what? This is the kind of stuff that we hear all the time, and I'm getting
Exactly.
sick and tired of it. We've gone back on the show and read from the Federalist Papers, the
Yeah.
Anti-Federalists.
I like this one.
We've read a lot of quotes from our forefathers that dictate exactly what it was meant to be.
Yeah, it's
It's
very.
not-
All you have to do is look into it, and it starts becoming more and more clear. It doesn't become more and more unusual. I mean, it's very obvious, and like we say time and time again, that it's written in a language that could have been written yesterday. You know.
All right, Jim, you might be a left-wing
Take it away.
extremist, brainwashing victim if
You believe that Charles Darwin microevolution theory is a proven fact. Hence the word theory.
Theory, yeah.
Or it would be the fact of evolution.
The fact of evolution.
Yeah, or it would be the fact of evolution.
Fortune cookies right there.
All right, you might be a left-wing extremist, brainwashing victim if
You believe that American soldiers joined the military only because they were either tricked into it or they couldn't make a living in the civilian world. Wow. That's not cutting them very much slack, dude. This is just...
my God.
This is ridiculous.
Some of those guys are super smart to come out of there.
You might be brainwashed if you believe that George Bush is more dangerous to the American way of life than Al-Qaeda. Awesome.
All
I
right,
knew people
I've
that
actually-
literally you could not even say Bush anything.
yeah.
Or, yeah, because
They would
he started
vehemently
it all.
look at you and just with hate in their eyes and tell. Even if you just said Bush, the word Bush.
I was
Like,
told by
what did you say?
I was told by somebody once that a monkey could do a better job than Bush.
Yeah, I told a person one time. I
look what
accidentally
happened.
told the person that. Do you know that George Bush went to Harvard and Yale, and graduated from both? And they said, "Well, so what? It was a C average, wasn't it?" I said,
exactly.
I said, "But he went and he graduated. Did you?"
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
All right,
it's the lesser of two evils.
you might be a left-wing extremist, brainwashing victim if anybody got one?
You believe that Rush Limbaugh is an
Hey.
extremist, but Al Franken is.
I was going to say the same thing.
He's going to lose his Senate seat this year, though. He's up for re-election, and it doesn't look good for him.
Excellent. You might be a
I got one.
okay.
You might be an extremist brainwashing victim if you believe that taxpayer money should be used to fund the arts.
Wow.
Yes, the arts. Hey, that's
It
true.
is. It already is. We don't have to
You
be an
might be
extremist.
Yeah.
It
brainwashing.
already is.
Oh man.
Wow.
Oh,
So,
oh.
and the hits just keep on coming, guys.
Okay.
I mean, this.
You
Call
might
us in
be-
if. Tell us. I want to hear one from the
Yeah.
listeners.
Yeah, there
Give
you go.
us some examples of brainwashing out there. All right, you might be a left-wing extremist, brainwashing victim if you believe that unborn human beings are not really human beings simply because they require the impermanent sanctuary of their mother's wombs, and therefore abortion is not murder.
Woo! And with that, we got a live one on the phone.
Welcome to On the Firing Line.
Hey, how about a B-29 Super Fortress, Little Boy, August the 6th, Hiroshima, Fat Man, Nagasaki, August the 9th, and one is a Boxcar, I think it is, B-O-C-K-A-S, car, an Enola-Gay,
Ooh, pronunciation.
Enolagay.
Well, it was very close. Do we get him on pronunciation?
I think
Yeah,
if
I
she's
can't pronounce either one of you guys' names.
That's tough.
Joe's a tough one, let me tell you.
Joe and Matt, you got to really stretch for those names there. Well,
I think if she's got it down, she's got it down.
Which one did she not say right?
The what? Wasn't it the Enola?
The Enola-Gay, yes.
Yeah, it's- yeah, Enola Gay, it is.
Enola-Gay.
Enola.
Another one is B-O-C-K-S.
Boxcar.
C-A-R.
Yeah,
Boxcar.
Yeah, Boxcar's the other one, yeah.
Boxcar, Enola-Gay, Fat Man, Little Boy, the 6th, the 9th, and it was what type of plane?
It was a B-29 Super Fortress.
All right.
I think she knows her stuff.
My father told me that they dropped leaflets before they bombed.
You know, I've heard that story before too, actually. That they had dropped leaflets to leave the city, and
Yeah, they did. They
yeah.
did. Yeah, in the Manhattan Project. Yeah,
Yep.
they go over all that. That they for weeks they were saying they're going to do this.
It was a
Can
warning.
you imagine having one of those leaflets? What a piece of history that would be.
Yeah, no kidding. And
I
even
think
if
they're
you,
gone
even if you,
now.
well, yeah, think. I'm pretty sure they're gone that
Completely
day.
gone now.
What if you got one of those? How could you even understand the power of what they were going to do? If it
You
hasn't, if
couldn't.
it hasn't happened,
Yeah.
you'd like, okay, they're going to drop a huge bomb on me. So they've been doing that for 5 years right now. We're in a war, and then all of a sudden, ain't that a doozy?
It saved many lives.
Oh yeah, my grandfather who fought in World War II, he said that bomb dropping saved more lives than we could ever even imagine.
Millions.
So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, because my father told me that he was going to be sent to Japan.
Wow.
Yep, and a lot of people would have been if it wasn't for Fat Man and Little Boy.
You know, it amazes me. Like the one of the ships, the battleship that actually was carrying the Enola Gay, I think it was, carried one of the nuclear weapons or atomic weapons, was trying to go into the San Luis Obispo port a few years back, and everybody protested and didn't allow the ship to come in, so they kept moving on down the coast. I can't understand these people that go out and protest this stuff. It's like they would have rather have seen more and more
carnage,
people lose their lives, or better yet, they would have rather America just stayed out of it and let Japan go on doing to what to human beings what they were doing all throughout Asia at the time. Unbelievable. Hey, so you have won this gift certificate. Do you have an older car that you're working on to restore?
No, but I have a friend that does.
Oh, perfect. That is fantastic. Do you know where Tactical Guns and Gear is?
Yes, I do. You guys help line carbon 15 for me. AR-15.
Nice.
All right, excellent. Well, I'll tell you what, Matt and I are going to be there on Tuesday or Wednesday. If you can come in the afternoon, we'll give you this certificate, and for the $175 there, and that way you can take it over and get an estimate and get that stuff done. And what was your name again?
Bruce, last name Melton, Melton.
Bruce Melton?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, I'm glad that somebody has won this. It's taken us, 3 weeks now?
Yeah, it's good that, we were trying to make the 3-part question so it wasn't too easy for you guys, and I'm glad that you got it. This should be a cool gift certificate for you to hand out to yourself or your buddies.
And the MilDOT, I was on a submarine, a World War II submarine.
Oh,
you had them.
Oh, right on. So that's a good one.
Yeah.
You would have gotten that part, no problem. What size were the MilDOTs in your submarine?
I wasn't an officer, so I didn't use them. I worked on the engines.
Okay.
on a World War II submarine, and then I was on FBM, which is the missile submarine.
Yeah. Right. Wow, so you've seen a few different changes through the submarine history there.
Yeah, we called the FBM the Hilton. Because some of it was 3 stories high, and the World War II was 1 story and a bilge.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yep.
Hey, I really appreciate you calling this week. So Matt and I will see you at the store.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
You got it. Tuesday or Wednesday in the afternoon. That gives us time to get through the stuff we have to do in the mornings. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
See, there we are, just giving our listeners stuff. Just giving it away.
Congratulations to Bruce Melton.
Yes, absolutely.
Who won the gift certificate from Bob's Radio. Bruce will pick it up on Tuesday. Congratulations, Bruce, and the Melton family. Have fun.
Yeah, that's
good. Awesome. So he's got a friend that he's going to give that to, who's working on a car, and that way it'll get put to good use.
Sounds to me like Bruce is a vet, so I'm glad that we could.
Can you imagine being on the submarines through those time periods?
Oh man,
World War II.
No, my grandfather was in World War I, and he was on a naval ship. And oh man,
submarines back then, those were like the Monitor and the Merrimack.
Hey
right?
man, as a little kid, he talked about that. I thought it was fun, and I realized thing always smelled like oil. You're always
oil at the best. That's a good smell.
Well, think of this. This guy went from submarines that were 1 story to the missile submarines that were 3 story, and I would imagine that the first submarines that he was on were diesel with probably batteries.
Absolutely, diesel battery,
so
right?
Then they go to, as he called it, the Hilton, which was probably nuclear or at least electric all the way. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and those are cool. I've been lucky enough to go into a couple of those old World War II ones. Like they had one at Pearl Harbor, the USS Bowfin, and a couple other places in the tight quarters, man. And you're working in there's 40 guys or something on one of those, and you start thinking, man, that's real
You
rough.
better get away from claustrophobia. I'll tell you what.
You better stow that quick.
Well, it's funny. That reminds me of the airplanes, the old bombers and stuff like that. Very short. They only took short people in the planes, and you couldn't stand up in those things. You would hit your head, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some
How would you like
crazy
to be a
stuff.
rear gunner in one of them?
A turret gunner?
Oh gosh.
Sweet.
What was that one movie where the rear gunner got taken out, or the bubble gunner underneath?
Right.
Oh God, what was the name of that movie?
Oh, was it?
Red Tails? No.
No.
It was like that. It was
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'll think of it. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's with real good actors.
Something Bell, Memphis Bell.
Memphis Bell. That's exactly what it was.
Yes.
Yeah, that was scary, dude.
We condone you to go watch Memphis Bell. Clearly.
And
that's
then
your
down
homework for
Periscope.
the weekend.
And then down Periscope. Don't watch down Periscope.
Down Periscope. I like that.
That
movie.
was a good.
That was a good one.
No, you can't send a submarine through the back of a propellers, but that's a good movie. That's not bad.
No, that's a good one. McHale's Navy.
Yes. They made a second one, but second movies are never so great.
Sophomore.
Which one? What? Of what?
Of the movie she's talking about.
Down Periscope?
Yeah.
They made another
They
one?
made another
Yeah,
one?
they made a second one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think
I didn't know the first one was a good hit.
You know what I want to talk
You
about?
should make a second
Rob
one.
Schneider was pretty good in that movie. I mean, he was an idiot, and he was great in it.
The movie that you saw, Noah's Ark,
Yeah. Oh,
and
boy,
you
what
were a little
piece
bit
of junk that
disappointed
was.
about. Somebody made a statement to me today is that that movie is presented in a negative connotation of Noah, right?
Yeah. And
If-
the world and people.
Okay, so
And the earth.
think of this: is if
God
we take
destroyed
our
the earth
children
because
or
people
people
didn't take care of it.
take their children to see this kind of movie, they're going to have an ever after life thought or
Right.
Yeah.
or vision of what Noah's like.
Exactly.
Oh, like in Noah, Daddy? That's what the kids are
So
going to be saying.
that's
actually say
part of the brainwashing process,
right.
and
It
this
is.
is the kind of stuff that
It is.
happens. This is how guns are presented as being so evil. This is how God and religion is being presented as so evil, and these are all for an agenda, and it's a socialism, socialistic.
Well, yeah, it's more than
agenda.
that, though. It's somebody's personal idea of what it should really be like. Now, let's face it. If you were an anti-gunner, you wouldn't want someone doing a pro-gun movie, right?
Right.
Well, the guy's an atheist who made the movie, so I mean, I walked out. It's the first movie I've ever walked out of in probably 10 years.
Unfortunately, I wanted to go see that movie. I was kind of hoping that
No,
it was
it's
going to
not
be
even close.
Noah the superhero.
No, it's not even close. Yeah, Noah was a great,
Noah
great
Vampire
man. So
Hunter.
was his children, and so were the world wasn't that bad. What the trouble with the world was, it went diabolical. In other words, things were plentiful, but they weren't taking care of themselves and each another. They became like, if you wanted to be a sex slave, you were a sex slave. If you wanted 5 wives, you took 5. You know what I mean? There was no real order in the world, and it was all sin. It was just all bad. People were all bad, but the world was still here, and it was still flourishing. It was still great. It was a great place to live. It's just that the people.
It was full of yees.
Yeah, we're gonna do one thing, and they just kill you over your food, kind of a thing. You're a crop guy. You make a lot of crops. Well, not everybody. There was no merchandising and stuff like that, all that kind of stuff, and people weren't in commerce, and people weren't taking care of one another. They were just debauchery all the time.
So
And
how did the
that's
movie
really-
present it?
It presented the world as just this desolate place, which isn't true, because before the flood, the sky was pink because we lived in a terrarium. It was actually like a terrarium type of a deal. It didn't rain. Before it happened, it didn't rain. You didn't know that, did you? She's looking at me
What
like,
does all this have to do with guns?
no, it's just that when you can go so far
when
the
you
other
go,
way.
yeah, when you
It
go into
does.
the
It leads
media,
into-
it changes how people see it because it's sometimes the first thing that they see. Like if they don't know anything about guns and they watch movies, and that's their impression of how guns are. If they don't know anything about the Bible or Noah,
Right.
that's going to be their first impression of what it's all about. And it's very
false.
well tainted. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
false. It's tainted by what the political agenda is at the time, what the movie maker's perspective is.
Right,
That's a good point.
So
right. But
There you
I had
go.
a talk show-
That's the time.
right there.
Thank
I
you.
had a talk show
You're
where I
welcome.
had scientists who were creation of scientists used to come on the show, and they would talk about what the world really did look like during that time and why God had to destroy it, because it was where it was going, and it had nothing to do with Noah. They had these rock people that come out of the earth and help him build the ark,
What?
which we know is not true.
Rock
Yeah,
people.
Rock people.
Wow.
All right. Well, rock people, guys.
I think I'm going to go home and watch Lord of the Rings.
Yay.
Tree
No,
people.
that's a good movie.
Yeah, tree people.
Oh, yeah, the tree people.
Easy.
All right, so this week we kind of wanted to give you food for thought. A little bit about brainwashing, a little bit about how the perception of things come to be,
Yeah.
and how much news media doesn't really follow things. We all have to think for ourselves, and it's going to come a time here real soon where we get to vote and put some new leaders in place. We're hoping that everybody will talk with your neighbors, talk with everybody else, and try to get that point across, to open your mind, go out and do some research and figure out what the right thing is so that you can do the right thing.
Oh, yeah. And don't settle for the lesser of two evils. You can always just not vote for one of these guys,
I'll
too.
take the lesser of two weevils.
Yes, exactly. It's a great joke, Master and Commander.
Yeah.
All right, so get back with us next week. Thank you for tuning in.
AM 1440 KUHL Santa Maria and online